Welcome, everyone. Thank you again for joining us today. We will begin shortly here, and I just wanted to say that you are more than welcome to ask us questions as the presentation goes on. If it's a technical question, we'll try our best to address that right away. If it is another question, we will be responding to all the top questions in our email follow-up after this webinar.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Ann Basting. I'm the founder and president of TimeSlips. Recently moved from the theater department to the English department, so I get to say I'm professor of English at UW-Milwaukee. And just that little note that the book Creative Care is available for pre-order at long last. It'll be out in May. If my voice holds out, I'll be recording the audiobook next week. let's hope. Great. So let's go on our way through on our great adventure in this new world we find ourselves in, engagement in the time of quarantine. First, I wanted to start out just with a little bit about who and what TimeSlips is, in case we have some new folks watching who don't know us yet. We're a nonprofit. Our mission is to bring meaning and joy to late life by infusing creativity into care relationships and systems. Our goal today is to share ideas and apply creativity to this unprecedented moment, and to bring a little joy and meaning to elders and I think all of us. A snapshot of TimeSlips. We offer training and inspire caregivers to infuse creativity and meaning making into care relationships. Ideally, we're out to change the way that we understand aging and improve the well-being of elders and caregivers alike. At this point, we have we're just so close to 900 certified facilitators. Just a few more in 48 states now and 20 countries across the world, reaching 50,000 elders a year. We are virtual. Our website has over 7,000 logged in users now, and our Creativity Center has over 17,000 stories on it. So it's a huge, open, free resource for everyone, and we'll talk a little bit about that today as well. Our movement is really about inspiring other people's creativity. We are a huge creative team, and I just want to say thank you right now to my whole team who've been working nonstop to adapt a lot of our resources to this moment. It's been really inspiring to watch everyone running at full throttle to do so. But it's really not about our creativity. It's about inspiring the creativity in others, in care partners, and in elders themselves. So a little bit about this unprecedented moment. Here's where we find ourselves. The CMS, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services in the United States. If there's any folks on the call from other countries, you will have your own guidelines. But my guess is that they're going to be very similar in this moment of COVID-19. We are restricting all visitors effective immediately, with exceptions for compassionate care, such as end of life. This means families find themselves in an unprecedented moment where they do not have access unless a loved one is on hospice. They do not have in-person access. The care homes are working really hard to find all kinds of creative ways to bring families into the daily moments and to make sure people stay connected. We are restricting all volunteers and non-essential healthcare personnel and other personnel. The example they give are barbers, but we know that that's a lot of people, particularly challenging for the activity staff who really offer so many programs with volunteers. This is the really challenging one. They are recommending canceling all group activities and communal dining, which means people really are in their doorways or in their rooms. Technologies that we use can be available to people because you'd need a conduit there to use it with folks. Implementing active screening of residents and healthcare personnel for fever and respiratory symptoms, which really means that the second someone has a challenge, it's going to be, we're going to hit a staffing issues, challenges, because staff are going to fall ill to this as well as residents. So let's keep these points in mind as we move forward. We also, those points that I just covered, here's where else we are. Staffing, as I just mentioned, is strained and going to be strained. Families and residents and elders, if they're living in the community on their own, there's a level of anxiety that we're all feeling. Many artists are out of work now. Congregate art making places have closed, and that means a lot of artists who are in the gig economy are out of work. We're in a moment of really, I don't need to say it because we're all in it, tremendous uncertainty. And looking 2 weeks ahead at the places in Europe that are experiencing this in advance of us, we can see that there is going to be considerable increase in the gravity of the situation, in the numbers of people passing away, and what that means to our elders and their families. Yeah. So the need that artists and people in the care communities who can hone and offer their own creative skills, here's the need. Social isolation, we know, has really powerful health detriments. And it's not just happening right now for older adults, it's also happening across the generations. Creativity, we know from research, is calming. It reduces stress and anxiety. When you get into a flow of imagination and creativity, it's as though the world and its problems melt away. And that is something we could all use right now. Generosity, we know, is also good for us. It increases our well-being, as does meaningful engagement. And meaningfulness to TimeSlips has 4 elements: personal expression in some way, shape, or form, pleasure, connectedness to the larger world so that you do not feel alone, you feel part of something bigger than yourself, and a sense of rigor, that what you're doing is well done and being taken seriously. So in the previous slide, I just want to mention that those are the elements that whenever in the suggestions that we're going to have coming up, those are the elements we're trying to meet: connectedness, meaningfulness, creativity, and generosity. The way in, how we find our way in, what we can do, in other words, TimeSlips, whenever we do organizational trainings, we do asset mapping. We always, as a way not to stress the system, we read the systems that we're training and figure out how we can bring creativity into it in its own existing system pathways. So we advocate asset mapping the ways in now. And when we just did a quick scan, here are the ways in that we see. Of course, the web and virtual routes in. Good old-fashioned mail. social media by phone and tablet and things like FaceTime, Facebook Live, things like that. Actual physical windows in the building, telephones, radio, and closed circuit TV. Some communities have that as a resource. I have here on the bottom, no matter what way you find in, whether you're a staff member, a family member, a volunteer, an artist who's trying to find a way to help, collaborate, get permission, don't just do something without actually talking to a care community. So here's a little bit of advance of what we're going to talk about. And I see now, I was updating this PowerPoint about 2 minutes before we went live. So some of the things I actually have added to it aren't on this little list yet. But we're going to talk a little bit on the web about the TimeSlips Creativity Center and just some of the tools that already exist there that are free for you to use. And then some of the innovations that the team is adding as quickly as they can. We're going to talk about mail and postcards in and postcards out, tablets and social media, windows. We have quite a few things for opportunities for working at the window and with telephones. So first off, the TimeSlips Creativity Center. When you go to our site, you find it under the resource tab. And here's what it looks like. You can click on one of the different ways we have for engagement. So beautiful questions, make up a story, have a gentle conversation. You can't see and we can't scroll, but right below there is do a mini project. And we're going to be activating do a mini project quite a bit in the next month or so. So look for some really exciting things there that I'll talk about in a moment. So if you click on, for example, make up a story, you'll come into our really pages upon pages of really vibrant, beautiful imagery that you can use to prompt a creative story. And if you click on one of those images, and the penguin is always one of the proverbial favorites, you can see how we've set this up, which is there are different ways for you to do it. You can download and print the image and the questions. And that could be a worksheet that you create and offer to people in their individual rooms to create a story on their own. We're at the TimeSlips team is going to be creating, right now that's a 2-page thing, which is a little bit awkward for copying, I know, and a resource for care homes. We're going to be turning those into 1-page worksheets that we hope will be a really valuable tool for folks. And we're going to make those available in about a packet of about 20 that can be, you can use for people in their rooms. And something that could be shared then also with family. There's also a way for you to invite someone from far away. So invite a friend to collaborate is something that we have as a feature on the site. Here's how you go about doing that. And I'm going to turn this over to Sammy, who has been working really hard to create some simple guidelines to walk people through that process.
Sure, thanks, Anne. So to invite a friend, you will first begin your story. So you need to have a title for it. And you can start your story in that text box just like you would if you were doing uploading a story on your own. And when you're done adding your first part, you can scroll to the bottom and it will say save. So once you save it, you can come back to it later from your dashboard, or you can decide to invite a friend to collaborate. And from there, you will click the link that looks like this, the invite a friend to collaborate. once you click that, you'll see a place for emails to go, and you can add the collaborator. You can add more than one person if you like. And once you've added the collaborators that you would like to, you can scroll down again and click save, and that will automatically send emails to all of the people that you wish to collaborate with. From their end, they will receive a link in the email. They can click that, and then they will see what you've already started. Another idea is you can ask a couple questions in that text box that then they can respond to, or they can just continue the story as they see fit from how you started it. After that, all they have to do is scroll down and click save at the bottom of the page. And once they click save, it will automatically email you that changes have been made to the story. And you can keep this going back and forth as long as you like. And when you're ready, you can, you as the original contributor can scroll to the bottom and click publish. There you have options to email the story, you can print the story, you can save it for a rainy day when you need a bit of joy, all of the above. So there's many ways to do that once you've invited your friend, and countless images to do this with. You can also do this with the beautiful questions that were shown in the slide before. There's also in our FAQ section a PDF that details this. So if you scroll to the bottom under general troubleshooting, you'll see a PDF that can detail the instructions for you here, so you can keep on collaborating.
Great. One of the incredible things that's happening at this moment is the yes and that the entire world is experiencing. It's almost happening too rapidly for us to gather all the resources for you. So I just included this one here, which is museums are offering virtual tours. Zoos are offering virtual tours. Broadway shows are doing free live streams. Really, if you spend just a few minutes searching online, you can find a lot of these resources. We'll try to keep a list at timeslips.org, but it's almost happening too quickly to catch up with. Again, this is fantastic for elders, say, in independent living or living at home on their own. And even if you want to tour it together, if you figure out how to screen share or use some of the social media things, that you can do it together with a loved one. But for folks in care situations where they're under maybe more acute care, these tools are a little more difficult to bring to everyone's individual room. That brings us to postcards. I think maybe because I love writing postcards, this was one of the first things that we came up with. And we asked our own certified facilitators all across the world if they were at nursing homes that wanted postcards. And we now know, we've confirmed for people who are nervous about the virus on the paper itself, that paper is actually the least stable carrier of the virus. It's about 17 hours, they say. So a lot of places are holding mail just for one day, and then it becomes an incredible resource because it's something that the person can keep in their room even after a virtual greeting or a FaceTime visit is gone. The letter is there, and they can hold it and have it in their room. And this is particularly important for people with dementia. So we ask if we have a list on our website, on our news. There's a news piece on the homepage that you'll see this same image. It says postcards, a little creative care postcards. That's where you'll find our long and growing list of nursing homes all over the world. And please write them a lovely little note. Make sure if you want to do one in your own neighborhood or near you, just make sure that it's welcome, because the key thing here is we don't want to overburden any staff. We offer some guidelines for how to do it. It is a time for positive framing. A poem, a beautiful question, a little piece of artwork. We suggest a beautiful question: what is love, an expression of love, look like to you? Or what is something beautiful to you? That is a great way to frame your offering of a postcard. Invite a response. Have, in some ways, you might not be able to get it because the logistics of going back and forth in mail and staffing and all that good stuff, but you're inviting them to think, and to think of something they can share with other people if they use the card as a resource for others. You can also gather up cards and share them from one home to another. And I included, the next slide is an example of a friend of mine who's another really good postcard writer. Here's an example of one that he wrote. So he has a lot of old postcards laying around, so he just pulled one, I don't know, it looks like a castle in Europe somewhere. And he says, "Hello, this looks like a place where there were plenty of adventures, sword fights, a vial of love potion, a monster in the lake who has a pure heart. What do you think happened here?" It's a very TimeSlips postcard. There's also the sending of postcards. And again, remember generosity. TimeSlips is setting about creating some postcards with beautiful questions on them that can be delivered to elders with a meal, or however. That's a very simple way. Originally, beautiful questions came out of our work with Meals on Wheels, where we generated these questions and had them go out on a card with Meals on Wheels. So it fits that if care homes are now having to deliver meals in individual rooms, these cards could come with a meal as well. It's an activity that can also be a gift for others. There'll be a little space for that person to answer, and then to share it and on with another person for them to answer as well. And you could bundle these and send them to another care home that's interested in receiving cards. Or we're going to have an 800 number where people can call in and leave their response. And we don't know quite yet we don't have a plan for what we're going to do with it. When we did the Islands of Milwaukee, we created radio pieces, which we can imagine doing, but we'll figure out a way to share those responses in an artful and beautiful way. Also, in the spirit of generosity and creativity, you can have elders create their own thank you notes. There are a lot of people to thank right now who are holding our society together. Grocery workers, teachers who are rapidly scrambling to figure out how to engage students online, fire and police, all healthcare providers, absolutely all, from the pharmacist to the doctors and the nurses and the certified assistants, anyone who's working in a care home in any capacity. You might also consider, speaking as the parent of a high school senior who is in a state of quite a funk because his senior year is gone, his senior baseball career, his senior prom, his senior everything. That senior to senior commiseration might be a nice thing to do. To write some notes to high school seniors to tell them it's going to be okay. Brings us to windows, which you'll see I had the most fun talking with lots of colleagues out there, sharing the incredible work that's happening. This is just a point of exuberance. Just a few little possibilities of what we'll be moving through here. The magic of whiteboards, which if anyone knows me knows I love whiteboards. artistic collaborations at the windows, music and serenading outside, artist murals, dance and movement, and fairy houses. I think there's even a couple more that I didn't put up on the list. Go ahead. Okay, again, I'm just going to reiterate guidelines for window work. This is some of the most hopeful and inspiring work that I've seen, but it's super important to know, to remember that the staff is stressed and that we want to communicate with the homes and make sure that we're not adding to that stress or endangerment in any way. Also, we need to be really mindful of considering levels of care. You're going to have some people potentially with dementia who might find some window work confusing. And so we want to make sure we don't add stress or strain or anxiety. We're only there to take it away and to ease it. That said, simplicity at window work is really important for that. And remember, there's no group activities, so we can't do like a giant exuberant dance number that we'll think will be leading people inside in that way. Things are sort of dispersed right now, so it's a little bit trickier. And that messages from the window work, thanks, Amy. Messages from the window work can be guided both to staff and residents. I think it's important to know that the whole community needs our support right now. Whoops. So window work, this is just one way on the inside to use whiteboards. This isn't exactly window work, but a photograph of this shared with family members is quite powerful. But you can imagine, I couldn't find any photographs of the whiteboard work being done at the windows. So I just ask you to kind of use your imagination here, which is appropriate for TimeSlips. That you can also do this from the outside in. The other thing to remember about care homes is that a lot of people have hearing problems. So this is a really great way to move through the window if you don't have, if people have hearing problems and they can't hear you through the window. You can maybe have two phones set up on one side and the other, but the whiteboard is a great solution. We have an artist who worked with us in our most recent big Kentucky project, Andy Rudloff, who we have commissioned to create a mural template for care home windows. And we've asked her, this is one of her pieces in Bowling Green by a photograph from the Bowling Green Daily News, which is by Alex Slitz. And it gives you an idea of her style. This one is on a school, so it's a little more child-oriented. But we've asked her to do it according to the beautiful question, if you could fly anywhere right now, where would you go? So she's at work on that, and we'll make that template idea available to anyone who wants it. And it will be also available as a coloring sheet for individual rooms. And it'll also be, I think, something, our goal is that it could be painted from the outside in an outline. And then if elders wanted to paint little pieces of it, like this child is doing from the inside, it can be a participatory, collaborative mural from the outside in and the inside out. Just a few more things that I found for potential window work ideas. Something that both staff, this is from a wing project in Los Angeles, where wings can be painted on windows or even on a building for the staff to feel a little moment of empowerment, for elders to have a photo opportunity in front of it. I think it's just a nice uplifting piece. You don't have to be a fancy artist. I included this one in here, which is from Ypsilanti, Michigan, because I think any of us could doodle this. And I just wanted to say the care staff, whether you think you're creative or not, can be part of these solutions. Our dear artist and collaborator, Jeff Becker, has been doing incredible things down in New Orleans with his mother and the Lake Town village, where is her assisted living. Jeff and his wife, who are living together so they don't have to practice social distancing, that's why you see them closer than 6 feet apart, have been visiting and asking. His mother will come up to the front windows, and they're doing little shows for people who want to experiencing them. It's not just his mom, but anybody who wants to come up and see them. So you can see on our Facebook page, our feed for TimeSlips, this is actually a video of his work. His wife is on a unicycle. Jeff was the designer for our Kentucky project with Signature Healthcare last year. We wanted to play this video for you because this is the first one that Jeff did, where he just came up to the window and wiggled and danced with his mom. And I think, again, you don't have to have a unicycle, or it really doesn't take much to come and bring a little bit of joy. And it also shows you what mirroring movement could do through a window with a dance, someone who might volunteer regularly to come and do dance workshops might be able to do this in a site doing the window work. I think Jeff's mom's laughter and peals of my son raise everyone's spirit. So we'll let that video play. I hope we can get audio. Can we get audio? Well, you can see this one as well and hear her laughter, which is quite precious, on the Facebook feed. So sound carries, music carries. This is a gentleman in Tennessee who, again, we shared this on our Facebook feed as well, who's just set up outside and was playing music for the elders in there who could come outside and hear it. Hopefully the weather will cooperate with us on this, because I think this is quite beautiful. And many of you might have seen the videos of the singing down the streets of Italy, and nothing brings people together and creates a sense of community across distance quicker than shared voice in song. And I'll talk about that in a minute as well for rituals inside the community. So it's not exactly windows, but it fits outside. I pulled this just from the website Chalk the Walks, but if you just Google sidewalk gratitude, you're going to fall into a whole world of examples. And this is something people can do to let the staff know that we care about them and that we're cheering them on. If you're feeling a little more ambitious, this is from Design Swan, and you might be able to chalk outside of a care home that people could see from their windows, or on the street below or in the parking lot. The Design Swan has some just beautiful chalk designs for you to play with. Also with the windows, this is also guided by Andy Rudloff from at the Morgantown Care and Rehab in Morgantown, Kentucky. When we did our I Won't Grow Up project there, we did a whole bunch of fairy houses. And this is just an example of how fairy houses can be a little tiny piece of enchantment at the window. This one happens to be inside, so it's a great little activity that people could do in their rooms and then could put them around. But also I have one, the next slide is of the outside. So that folks who want to enchant the outside of a care home, you do not have to go to Michael's in order to get supplies. You can simply use whatever you find outside to make little homes that might carry special messages. Just a little bit of enchantment goes a long way toward creating a moment of wonder. This comes from Sparkle Stories. You'll see quite a few examples of how to do natural, just search natural fairy houses. On the inside, enchantment ideas, this one came from Lee County Care and Rehab when we were doing our Wendy's Neverland performance there. We had hoped maybe to put some sparkles inside the hand sanitizer, but at least we just called it the Pixie Dust Station. So you can see how a little bit of whimsy can help, would really be able to lift people's spirits. Inside, I also want to talk about the power and importance of ritual in these moments. There's one of the things we learned with the I Won't Grow Up project was the power of enchanting daily routines by identifying a sound that happens regularly or a word or a sound, and that has something you could add to that sound that makes it funny or a little bit of enchantment. So an idea, the way that we did it was whenever someone in the play said Lost Boys, because our play was about Peter Pan, everyone would respond by singing, I once was lost, but now I'm found. I would sing, but I'll probably cough. So that's just an example. Like if there's a ding or a ring or a sound and you want to add an echo of it, it can be a really playful way for people to hear each other and feel part of a game or a playfulness. You might consider coming up with rituals around a certain time of day. You know, in many communities, there's the noon bell or the siren sound to show people it's noon or the end of the day. You might have like a noon song that just rings out. Come up with a song that everyone knows and loves in the care home. And that everyone can sing, whether or not the one guy who knows how to play guitar happens to be healthy and able to be there that day. Something simple so that it can become a comforting ritual. You might consider creating a thanking ritual, something around when someone does something or you just want to say thank you. You might ask people, how should we show people we're being we appreciate what they're doing? Is there a sound or a movement? And use that to create the thank you ritual and teach it to everyone. And then today we're thanking so-and-so, and everyone in the whole place can do the movement and the big thank you. Same thing with showing people that they care about them in passing. You may come up with your own ritual around how do you show someone they care about them. A word, a sound, a movement that can be shared. Another powerful thing to do that can link individual rooms to the whole, to the sense of community, is to accumulate a lot of small things. So if individuals in rooms can color, say, a butterfly, then you can create in the lobby a huge giant butterfly made of all those little butterflies. And that can be maybe the wing drawing or the thing that people could stand in front of and to have a picture taken. And my little contribution of one little butterfly that I colored is part of this larger community. I feel part of the whole. It can be anything. The butterfly example is just one. You guys, I trust your creativity to come up with more. And also, I think as we look ahead 2 weeks, we may want to think about how we can create rituals of honoring people. There's been a growing number of care homes, particularly from Eden and from Pioneer Network, who have learned that staff needs to grieve when people pass, and other members of the community need to do it. If we find ourselves on lockdown still, as God forbid people pass in care homes, it's going to be difficult for families to be able to find ways to honor them. We could really use all our creative resources to figuring out how to honor people while they're living, maybe while they're struggling, and even after they pass. A few things from social media that I've just pulled up, and one I didn't actually have time to get on here. TimeSlips, look at our Facebook and Instagram feeds, because every idea that comes to us, we're turning into little prompt ideas and putting there. So there'll be a lot more of that happening there. Gary Glasner, who does the Alzheimer's Poetry Project, is doing live Facebook poetry walks at 3 Central every day. So he's out about in the world and in nature, which is so important for us to connect to at this moment, and guiding us through poetry walks. Zoe Bird, who is the Minnesota Alzheimer's Poetry Project, is also offering little poetry curriculum online. If you check the Minnesota Alzheimer's Poetry Project site. From your own care home, using beautiful questions to invite family members to share their responses. I think using poetry and these beautiful questions as a conduit is a great way to contain and buffer a little bit of the anxiety. And that's why I think this moment is particularly meant for artists who can help us contain and contextualize a lot of emotion and anxiety. Music via Zoom, Skype, and Facebook Live. If you have already musicians who usually volunteer with your site, ask them to do Facebook Live, ask them to do FaceTime, ask them to use one of these many mechanisms for coming in to help do that, or at the window work as well. It's great to take requests as well. And here we have an opportunity to do some brokering as well. So let us know at info@timeslips.org with some of the musicians that we have as our connections. Telephone. Now this is tricky, again, because of the synchronicity of the issues. It might be really challenging for staff to have family members talk and do FaceTime at certain times that are convenient to everyone. I'm sure everyone is really struggling to find ways to make that work. One of the ideas that I've seen out there is that we can engage folks in independent living into phone trees to help with other parts of their own care home, or potentially family members can help do that as well. So think about mobilizing your own community and the resources of the elders themselves. This struck me, I remember, in Islands of Milwaukee, because many of the elders who were doing the well checks from the telephone reassurance programs were also quote unquote isolated seniors themselves. So don't underestimate the power of volunteering and generosity for the elders of feeling of use at this time. And it's also a great way to integrate families, but to give them some guidance around using beautiful questions, singing together, making music, playing music over the phone, creating poems, we offer all of the Creativity Center resources for coming up with story ideas and sharing stories around certain questions that they can share. You know, one of the things that we really have come to over time at TimeSlips is this, the tension between the one-off single activity and the project, one that builds over time. And there is definite power to community building by kind of stacking up a lot of different smaller activities into something that builds over time. That's challenging right now because we're in such a moment of uncertainty and so much upheaval. But I think what we're doing to add a resource for everyone is that all of the hundreds of creative activities that we had as part of our I Won't Grow Up project that culminated in Wendy's Neverland, in the reimagining of the story of Peter Pan, we want to we're making those available to people that they might be helpful for folks in care homes as well as parents. Peter Pan has a resilience across generations, parents at home with kids. So we are turning those activities into little short voiceover PowerPoint videos that we're going to be sharing on our Facebook feed, I believe. Now I'm just going to make something up because I don't know where we're sharing it, but come to our website and we'll tell you where we're sharing it. I've just started making the first couple of those, and they're really great. So those can be used as single activities, but they can also, if you're interested in building something over time, this is a really great way to do it. So wrapping up a little bit, thank you for staying with me. And I'm seeing on the side on the chat too, all of the resource ideas and all of these things that you all are sharing. So we'll in turn share those things as well. I just want to thank you all for your interest in this, your commitment to bringing light and joy and meaning into the lives of elders. And really, as I said, all of us right now, artists and carers and elders, we offer each other hope at this moment. Generosity, creativity, connectedness to bring meaningfulness should be our guidelines for any or ideas that we have. Truly, the two unique communities, the artists and the care communities, are both in high need. And what we'll try to do is find resources that are listed to help both. And if there's a way that somebody out there is listening to figure out how to bring these two communities together, let's keep doing it. So thank you all so much. I'm going to keep at this fever pace of idea pitching, and I'm going to turn it over to Sammy, who's going to close us out. Thank you all, and be well.
Thank you so much, Anne. And wow, it's been really just an incredible time watching the chat too, and all of the wonderful ideas that are coming from all of you. But we did want to mention a few things. We are offering through the end of April. Currently, our TimeSlips training and certification, we are offering for 30% off. So you can access that on our website using the code SPREADJOY. Don't worry, all of this will be sent in the follow-up email, so you don't have to worry about it right now. But for those of you who are interested in the training only, I see a lot of different organizations offering online training right now. We're always online, but this is a great time to add a new skill and deepen your understanding of the techniques that we use at TimeSlips. to increase this meaningful engagement. So right now, we are extending our friends and family discount to everyone since we're all in this together. You no longer need a document verifying the need from a physician, which we used to ask. So you don't need any supporting document. All you need is the code, family code, for $29 training. I know that a lot of people are also hurting financially right now, but we do have to ask, if you are able to, please consider donating to TimeSlips. We're working very hard to continue offering new free resources to people. And we also would love to keep, our evidence-based training at the reduced rate, but donations do help make that happen. So we appreciate anything that you can offer in that way. And we hope to stay in touch. There's a few ways that we hope to continue these resources moving forward. As Anne mentioned, on our social media handles, we'll be offering tips, joyful links to make us smile, and announcements for future webinars, helpful articles, things of that nature. So we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and you can also subscribe to our monthly e-newsletters. There we share different articles, updates, things like that that can be very helpful. And we also are adding, as of next week, weekly creative prompt emails. So we'll be sharing a weekly photo prompt and a beautiful question prompt. And at least in the foreseeable future, we'll also be sharing some extra resources to help provide inspiration for creative engagement. So we'll be sending a link in the follow-up email so that you can do that. But those are some ways to keep in touch with us moving forward.
Thank you, Sammy, and thank you, everyone. Stay well.
Thank you, everyone.